So hello and welcome back to the 23rd episode of the International Greenkeepers Fire podcast. We've made a change, or more of a swerve in direction recently with the podcast episodes in particular. We're now looking more towards the Meet the Members, and today I have Duncan with me, who you might know as the Relief Greenkeeper, quite prevalent on social medias. So we're looking at sort of showcasing more of what people are doing within the industry, more of the people that we've been connected with. So I wanted to have a chat with Duncan because his name's been popping up a few times. We've exchanged a few messages and I wanted to know more, as I'm sure lots of the listeners will as well. So Duncan, first of all, thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast. Would you like to start by giving us a little bit of a brief introduction on yourself?
Yeah. Hello, Bob. I'm Duncan Cheslett. I'm based up in Stockport near Manchester. I've come into greenkeeping, very late in life. I turned 60 before I ever did any greenkeeping. But basically, I've been a cabinet maker for 40 years, making furniture for people. Self-employed, always been self-employed since I was 19, and basically just spent my life making furniture. I became disillusioned with the furniture business during COVID. It hit me very hard. I couldn't go out seeing customers, getting orders. I was really stymied. So I turned 60 at that point and thought, well, I can't be doing this for forever anyway. I'm disenchanted with it. COVID's rendered the whole thing unviable. So I got out. So I need to earn a living. So I responded to an advert on Facebook that I saw from a friend of mine who ran a municipal course in Manchester, asking for people who fancied working in the golf industry. So I called him up. He said, come and see me in the morning. So I did. And I went in with a view that perhaps I could sit behind a desk taking green fees all day long. Sounds like a novel. And he said, have you ever thought about greenkeeping? And I said, no. What are we talking about? Yeah. So anyway, I came out of Greenkeeper and started work the next day. Absolutely loved it. Took to it straight away. It was a complete change from anything I'd ever done before. But I think a lot of the skills that I'd developed over the years in attention to detail and handling machinery were all very transferable. And yeah, I immediately loved it and decided this is what I'm happy doing. I worked there for a year or so, moved on to another golf club near at home, a little 9-hole course. Stayed there for a year or so, and then decided to go freelance, which I did earlier this year.
Yeah, no, so it's fantastic, and it's a nice story to see people come into the industry from a different avenue. We often talk about, and I've had conversations earlier today, apprenticeships and schools and colleges, and we're always talking about ex-services and military as well, but just the literal stumble across the industry, I think it's fantastic. And as we always speak to, even with the people that have done apprenticeships, to be honest, it's normally a case of how did you find your apprenticeship? And it's just, oh my brother's friend, or next door neighbour, or someone down the road works at the golf course and had a job going, had an apprenticeship, had a whatever position, and the vast majority will always say it's an industry they've stumbled into, but then loved. And then, as you say, look at yourself now. So what sort of led you to the decision then that, as opposed to working at a course full-time, you wanted to go down the freelance route?
I think it was a combination of things. I had a bit of a run-in with the club that I was at over money. I'd started there a year previously on £1.50 an hour more than minimum wage, as it was at the time. Then minimum wage kept going up, and my wages stayed the same, until we were faced with the prospect in April this year of the minimum wage going up to more than I was on.
Yeah.
So I went to see them and said, well, I think I should be given a pay rise to put me back to where I was when I started, which was £1.50 an hour more than minimum wage, and they just rejected it out of hand.
Yeah.
And said, no, you'll be on minimum wage. You'll get a pay rise up to minimum wage. So basically didn't take me long to decide to tell them where to stick it. Gave a notice in that day. And then immediately I got a job actually indoors. This was in the November.
Yeah.
I got a job in a factory for 3 months.
Yeah.
Tided me over the winter. And during that time, I made my plans to to go freelance this spring, which is exactly what happened.
So with that then, what sort of roles do you typically take on? Because like greenkeeping itself is quite broad, and I'm also thinking about aspects in terms of machinery and stuff, which I'll ask you later on. But what is the go-to for you? Because for me, for example, if I were a head greenkeeper, or even some of the schools and stadium various bits that I've been part of, what should I be expecting to look at you for? What are the sort of roles that would stand out?
What most people utilise me for is basic mowing tasks such as fairways, rough, greens, the sort of things that are fairly generic that somebody who doesn't know the course can quickly go out and do.
Yeah.
I mean, mowing greens is very straightforward. Once you've quickly worked out where all the greens are and what's best order to do them in, a green's a green. Same with a fairway. Everybody has different ideas on how to mow a fairway, particularly how you connect the fairway to the green complex. There's as many different ways of doing that as there are golf courses. But they're all fairly straightforward. So nobody takes me on for a few days a week for a month or so to rake bunkers or to do those sort of tasks. I'll turn up on a Monday morning and they give me the keys to the fairway mower and said, find your way around and see you tonight.
Yes, that's sort of one of the points that I was getting at there. As you say, you're not so much on the casual aspects of what you'd expect from a workforce. It is very much a case of there's some skilled work that requires someone that knows what they're doing. And I find it interesting, as you say, you go around to multiple golf courses and remembering your way around those as you go, you need to go and cut the 8th fairway. It's how do you remember that?
Yeah, it's easy when they say just mow the fairways, because it's the first time you just do it in order.
Yeah.
And that gives you a good idea of how the course is laid out. Of course, once you've done it a few times, you realise, well, it's a bit quicker of a nip from the 3rd to the 8th.
Yeah.
And so on. But initially, just do them in order, find your way around. The one that I find the most difficult to get the hang of a course on is very often doing the rough.
Yeah.
Because every course has got little nooks and crannies of rough.
Where does it end? Does it go into the next hole? Do you go on to the exactly. 3 on the side of 1?
So although it's often perceived to be the most straightforward of mowing tasks, until you know the course well, it's actually can be quite tricky. And the other one is surrounds, aprons. Again, every course has got different recipes on different holes.
Yeah.
How a particular bunker is treated. And when you've been there 5 or 6 years, it's all second nature. But when you're just there on your first day, trying to work out how they want each. So surrounds are something I'd rather leave until I've been there for a wee while. I'd rather leave those to the regular people.
You know, I actually find it kind of interesting you said that, and I've never really had this conversation with anyone before about this in particular. But for example, on when I worked at the Belfry, I would quite often cut the approaches and tees. So I'd do the tees, and on the way around, I'd do the approaches as well with the hand mower. But there's ones in particular which have always stayed in my mind. Like the 3rd approach was a massive one. You've got the water at the bottom of it and on the Bravazon. And there was one line where you started, basically. It was like right in the middle, because the approach is all striped towards the green from the last, playing spot, essentially. And there was the one you started with. And if I was off for a couple of days or someone else did it over the weekend or something else, I always knew, because everyone would start in a different place to where I would start. And because I did them most often, so then you'd end up with a ghost all the way across because they'd started. But I always knew, and it was like, that one there, the longest one, it went from this point to this point, and I'd be, like, I could guarantee I could almost get it right every time.
Yeah, but that'd be a reference point that you work off.
Yeah, but as I say, it's not one of them things you necessarily pass on, is it? So it was a case of every time someone else did it, it did get cut differently.
And you see that. I see it a lot with fairways.
Yeah.
Most clubs these days are doing half and half fairways.
Yes.
Even Parkland courses generally seem to be going over to that. but very often the centre line is very difficult to determine because there's been about 4 different centre lines over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And is it the centre of the width?
What do you do? The way I do it, if I'm not sure, if I can't see it straight away, is I start on the outside,
Yeah.
work my way in, and where it meets, that's the centre.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It can be tricky on some of them because the centre might not necessarily be even. The fairway might be slightly off to the side or dog leg, and it's how do you do that? And then as you say,
I actually quite like that, bringing it in from each side and where they meets the centre, because then the centre takes a nice organic curve to it.
Yeah.
One thing I don't like is straight centre lines.
Yeah.
Laser straight centre lines. That's not natural for me at all.
Well, that's it. And nothing in nature is there's no straight lines in nature either. And when you think of the golf course as well, you've got all of the semi-rough around it. So everything's shaped in a certain way. And then if you go and put a straight line up down the middle of it,
it looks awful.
Yeah, I completely agree. So what would you say, Duncan, be your what do you most enjoy about working at many different golf courses?
I like the variety. I think different people have different personalities. I'm a bit of a butterfly. I think I like different places. I like different people. This week I've worked at a new course. I've never been there before, and it's just an exciting feeling on a Monday morning getting to this golf course for 6 o'clock in the morning. No idea what kind of kids do. I've never met any of them before. It was all arranged over the phone. It's great. I love that sort of thing. Meeting new people, new challenges, and it just varieties the spice of life.
Yeah.
I could see myself getting just bored.
Yeah.
Being at the same place certainly for year after year, unless you're really invested in it. I mean, the course manager, that's a different thing. He's doing something over several years to get to a point where he wants to be with it. But if you're just going in there as a worker, I much prefer to be at different places and spread myself around a little bit. My wife's actually got she summed it up perfectly. We don't have to use bad language on this podcast.
I can put a bleep over it.
My wife said to me, I got home one day particularly enthused after I'd had a good day. Oh, I love this job, love doing this. She says, I can see why you like it. She says, because you never worked anywhere long enough for them to find out you're a
That's fantastic. But it is interesting you say that, as we had the brief conversation to start with when we were talking about moving around and enjoying maybe the little bit of the project work, and we were I know it was a brief conversation, but it was very like-minded, wasn't it? It was a case of I would quite happily work somewhere for a year maintaining somewhere, but then after that I'm probably, once I've reached the levels of I've enjoyed it and I've seen every part of it, it would need that next aspect. And that's very much what I see in the conversations that I've had with yourself. It's a case of why not? Let's go and see some other courses. Let's go and work at some other places. Let's keep life interesting. And imagine if we had 50 greenkeepers like yourself that went between 50 different golf courses and you got to move around a week of the year. It would just, we know the pay's not fantastic sometimes. We know times and working hours and everything else is not, but is this not an option that we could make things more interesting with?
I think so. And I mean, that's another reason why I enjoy the freelance aspect. Is it's more profitable, more remunerative. I get paid a far higher hourly rate than I would do as an employee. So when I first started it, I thought on 3 or 4 days a week, I earned more than I was earning as an employee. I've ended up working 5 days a week because the work's there. So I'm in the position where really I could afford to take the winter off. Because doing this, I can earn as much in 8 months as previously I've been earning in 12. Well, that's got to be an attractive proposition to a lot of people. It's not for everybody though, because a lot of people will like the security of having a regular pay packet going into their bank account.
Yeah.
The last Friday of every month or whenever they get paid. But I've never had a job like that in my life. I've always been self-employed. So you become accustomed to the relative insecurity, and you develop a faith that something will turn up.
Yeah.
And it'll be all right in the end. You know, you've got your mortgage payment looming in a week's time, and you're skint. Somehow, the money comes in.
Yeah, and I don't know how, and likewise been self-employed for quite a few years now, and it's a case of you just make it work, don't you? There's ways and means, and but yeah, what a fantastic way to do it, though. You know, it's good. So we mentioned a little bit there about pay, and we don't have to go into particularly detailed of the numbers, but that's something that I'm conscious of is quite a big and important part of this as well. We chatted over the phone about how the cost to a club would be, you know, of a similar cost to having an employee versus having someone like yourself as a relief greenkeeper. So you want to touch on that a little bit for us, Duncan?
Well, yeah, a full-time member of staff who is earning, let's say, £15 an hour. They're actually, once the tax and national insurance is taken off that, they're actually, and the pension contribution, what have you, they're probably only coming out with £12 an hour.
Yeah.
The club, however, to pay that person £15 an hour, once the employer's national insurance, the employer's pension contribution, the holiday pay aspect of it, sickness pay, providing PPE, all the on costs, that £15 an hour actually ends up being £22 an hour for the hours worked.
Yeah.
So it's costing the club £22 an hour, and the employees taking home 12. Now, if I go in and charge, say, £20 an hour, that's the total cost of the club.
Yeah.
And they only pay me when I work, and they only pay me when they need me. There's no long-term commitment. I will just go and help out for, let's say, for instance, a couple of days a week for 2 months while they're recruiting a full-time member of staff and they're short-staffed. Or I'll go in for 3 days for 2 weeks while a key member of staff is on holiday. But they're only paying me for the time I'm actually there when they actually need me. So once you work it all out on that basis, it's actually a better use of their budget to employ somebody like me on a casual basis as a self-employed freelancer than it is to have a full-time member of staff. It becomes more problematic if it became anything like a permanent arrangement.
Yeah.
If, for instance, I was working at one club for a year, 2 days a week, it becomes problematic because then I could be seen to be an employee and abusing the freelance status.
Yeah.
So you've got to be very careful. And I've no desire to work at one place for that length of time. My services that I provide is very much a short-term, temporary fix while you're short-staffed.
Yeah, I think it brings a few other benefits that you sort of briefly touched on as well. For example, rainy days are a big one. I know it's almost a benefit of the job when it does really rain and you've sat inside, but I know I'd much prefer to be sat at home. And those days where if they'd had honestly said, would you prefer to not get paid and go home, I probably would have said yes to some of them. But there's very much that aspect of it, though, isn't there? And there's pros and cons, and it will work for some courses, and it won't work for some others that necessarily need staff on site for the duration of the days, or whether they've got tournaments or anything else in between. But there certainly is a scope for it, isn't there? You know, rather than paying someone to be sat in the shed drinking tea, which, you know, neither want to be doing. It could be a case of they've obviously got 2 or 3 or maybe even more members of full-time staff, but those people that are like yourself, you're out there cutting the fairways, you're doing the greens, you can't do that work today, then you don't need to be in, do you? And
I'm quite happy that if we come into a spell of really bad weather, okay, you might have booked me for Wednesday and Thursday this week, but it's absolutely pouring down. I won't come in.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I'm in a fortunate position where I can do that. I'm not reliant on the income to pay the mortgage because I'm so old that the mortgage is paid off. I have got that luxury. I have no desire to go out mowing fairways in the pouring rain.
Yeah.
It's also bad if you get caught in the rain, but going out in the full knowledge that it's down all day is not fun for anybody, is it?
No, I've been there. And while we're on that subject as well, then, what would you say would be the most challenging thing that you've come across so far? And you don't have to name specific clubs or go into too much detail, but is there anything that stands out to you? You go, actually, maybe that was a difficult day, or that was a difficult project, or that was, something went wrong that day.
I can't think of any examples that they obviously, like every year, you mess up sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some days you've known fairways.
Yeah.
There's some days where you cannot see the edge of the fairway.
Yeah.
Because the dew is of a particular type, the sun is shining from a particular angle, and you cannot see where the edge of the fairway is. So you do your best, and then you realise that you've been mowing the fairway up the first cut line for the last 200 yards. And
oh, yeah.
We've all done it.
Yeah.
It's just things like that where you kick yourself. And I've learned that if that happens, you just fess up.
Yeah.
You don't, because you can't hide it.
No, and just put your hands up and admit it. And I had a situation where I was cutting the greens on the PGA, the Balfour, and there was a tournament that particular day, and I've got the switch at the side of me. Anyway, I put the switch on the green strip all the wrong way around, so the end bit falling out. So I leaned forward to go and grab it as I'd come off the green, dropped the units, and probably did about 5 or 6 meters from the apron all the way into the rough. I mean, fair play because the reels were sharp. But so straight away I was like, oh, yeah, there's not really a great deal I can do. And I remember I radioed the head greenkeeper, Jamie. I said, Jamie, this has happened. He said, don't worry about it. So I can't remember. I think we sprinkled some of the clippings on it because obviously it was tournament day, just to try and hide the fact that it was, yeah. And to be fair, it looked fine, and we got through the tournament, and no one batted an eyelid. But it was a case of, it was one of them. Put your hands up. I've done wrong, but yeah.
It's a horrible feeling when that happens, and you're just kicking yourself, aren't you?
Yeah.
How could you be such an idiot? But I found if you fess up and you hold your hands up, the response is pretty well always the same. Oh, don't worry, grass grows.
Yeah, it was exactly that. It will grow back. Let's just deal with it now, and we'll, can we do something to fix it and go from there? So, would you say then that this scenario that you're in, I say scenario sort of loosely, but the current workflow that you're working at the moment, there's a growing demand for a relief greenkeeper?
Well, you've got to be careful when you say relief greenkeeper, because I've got copyrights on that. There's only one relief. It's trademark.
It's trademarks.
So there is a huge potential demand for people offering the sort of service that I've found myself offering, and to that end, I am actually actively looking to put a team together of like-minded individuals that I can place at golf clubs around the country.
And that's sort of the next step for you to progress this, because one of the things we briefly chatted on was how does this scale? How do you go from it being you to having that team?
Well, organically.
Yeah.
Starting off in a small way. So I've absolutely no doubt that there is the demand for the service from golf clubs everywhere. I've proven to myself that it works in my immediate area in the northwest of England. There's absolutely no reason why it wouldn't work anywhere else. And I've stumbled across ways of drawing the business in from clubs, which I'm not going to go into full detail
Yeah, of course.
works. So I've no doubt that actually getting the work from golf clubs is the lesser of the challenges. The greater challenge is getting the right people in that I can then place at golf clubs to do the work. They've got to be the right kind of person. People who are prepared to, they would be working on a self-employed freelance basis. There's no employment contract as such. My role would be just as a matchmaker, placing them at golf clubs, and the golf club will pay them direct.
And what would you say would be sort of like a key quality or skill that you'd require in that person then, like yourself, to go out and do this work at the golf courses?
Reliability, firstly. The ability to do all the basic jobs without asking too many questions. How do you do this? How do you... Yeah, just competence and reliability. Personality, the right sort of person that is going to fit in wherever they go. Sort of a confident, personable person. And in my mind, because of the nature of the job being inherently insecure in a way, I can't guarantee to anybody that I can find them 5 days a week work for 40 weeks of the year. There's no guarantees. It's going to attract people who are looking at it as a bit of an extra. So I've got in mind retired greenkeepers, head greenkeepers who've come to the point in their career that they really want to wind down a little bit. They don't want to give up work, probably can't afford to give up work, but rather than all the stress and hassle of running a team and a golf course, fancy the idea of doing 2 or 3 days a week, just sitting on a mower without any responsibility.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely 100% think there's a demand there for it as well. You know, the amount of places that I've gone and worked at myself or spoken to or done assessments at, or you name it in between. There's one of the things they always say is that, you know, if they could just get someone for a few weeks, you know, during a particular time or a tournament, or I know some clubs will have volunteers, but to have that pair of hands that are skilled and competent, as you say, is just so fundamental. But then going around different clubs then, Duncan, and I know you've been predominantly in the similar area, but have you seen much of a difference between how clubs operate and maybe in different regions?
Not so much different regions, because all my work's basically been in the northwest of England, mainly in the Manchester area, although I've been worked on at Wallasey on the Wirral, St Anne's links up near Blackpool. Not a regional difference, but a very much cultural difference at different golf clubs and with different head greenkeepers. Head greenkeepers differ widely and have, obviously, they've all got different experiences. From the accidental head greenkeeper, of which there are a lot, who have started off as an apprentice, might even never have moved clubs.
Yeah.
Or if they have moved clubs, it's maybe only once.
Yeah, the one across the road as well.
Yeah. But have been at a golf club for 15, 20 years, are perhaps not even officially the deputy, but are the most senior greenkeeper below the head greenkeeper. Then the head greenkeeper leaves, and very often they're offered the job. Do you fancy a go?
Yeah.
Talking to a guy the other day, and that's exactly what happened. The head greenkeeper left for another job. He'd been there 15 years. Said, "Oh, you might as well have a go at it. See how you get on." So he did, and 20 years later, he's still there. Yeah, and that's what the accidental head greenkeeper.
Yeah.
He never had it in his career plan. He never had a career plan. He's just started off as a lad mowing grass, and that's what he does. Then, of course, you've got the professional head greenkeeper who's been on a mission ever since they first started as apprentice, and has been very ambitious and had a career plan, and has probably been and done a degree level, and treats it in a very, very professional manner and reaches a very high level. there's probably others that don't reach a very high level that start off with that mindset. And the culture at two different clubs that might only be a few miles apart between one head greenkeeper and another is massive. I'm not saying one is necessarily better than the other, but more suited to different kinds of golf courses, perhaps. And I'm not sure that you can say which is the best one to work for.
Yeah. No, I've been on both sides of that coin. And everything in between, to be honest. And I wouldn't ever say one was worse than the other. They certainly come with different challenges. That's probably the same thing as you would say. Well, all in all, I'll be completely honest. I've not really come across many people that it didn't really get on with. There's only a handful, and that tended to be reasons outside of the actual job itself. There isn't many people that don't have an interest in the job, despite of however they've come into the industry, or don't have a good passion for it, or behind every greenkeeper, there is some sort of spark where they really enjoy what they're doing.
I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. Nobody would stick in this job for more than a few months or years if they didn't enjoy doing it.
No.
Because nobody's doing it for the money. No, it's not even the sort of job that you end up staying with because there's nothing else. Because
there's plenty of other jobs.
Plenty of other jobs you can do. So it's not a dead-end job, is it? It's not a job that people do because that's all they've got.
No, and
you like it.
And there's a good pathway. And as you said earlier, I've seen people go all the way to the top, and then some as well. When you get into the higher end of agronomy and courses and the stadia, and then if you then change off, you go into arb or irrigation, or the creation of bunker lining, sand drainage. There's so many different avenues. But to have a lot of people, as you say, do tend to normally get to one point, or say maybe a lot's probably the wrong word, but we do get people that go to certain points and actually decide that part of the industry or that level is where they're going to stay or where they want to stay at. And but yeah, even that case, we're never doing it without the passion, are we?
No. But one thing I really enjoyed this year is working at all these different types of golf courses with different types of head greenkeeper, course manager. It's educational. You're just seeing different sides of life, different ways of approaching fundamentally the same job. One of my most enjoyable weeks was working a little 9-hole golf course near Rochdale that employed one greenkeeper.
Yep.
And he was away for the week. So they asked me to go and run the golf course on my own. And I loved it. Whether I'd want to do it full time or not is a different thing. But for a week, it was great.
Yeah.
Making all the decisions yourself. Well, I'll do this, I'll do the tees today.
Yeah.
It's blooming hard work. It's harder work than working in a team of 12.
Yeah, because you are forever chasing your own tail. And I know people that worked at 9-hole courses on their own as well. And it is a case of, right, if I can't cut the greens today because it rains, that means I have to cut them tomorrow. That means the fairways have not been cut for 4 days. That means that, the knock-on effect is horrendous. But I think with that as well, it's good for you and the club, because there is an aspect of you're able to bring this experience along from multiple other places and in different sort of view aspects. And then you might have had situations, like I know I certainly have, where I've gone to a new place and I've gone, actually, we could do this differently, and there's a way we can do it significantly better.
Deliberately avoid saying that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get a reputation of a Johnny Know-all. Yeah. I'll just do it their way, even if I think it's ridiculous, because I'm not there to give advice. I mean, there's obvious ones.
Yeah.
You go, and the way that they're cutting the fairways is they're striping them, and it looks like a dog's dinner.
Yeah.
And it takes twice as long as if you just did them half and half.
Yeah.
But it's not for me to tell them that the way they've been cutting the fairways for the last 20 years is wrong.
Yeah, no, I guess
So I'll just had to call them as they want them.
yeah, you're looking at it from a different aspect, whereas I've been always, it's been a longer term stay. So one of the ones that always come back to my mind is when I took over at a private school. One of the first things that I went in and did is we had a little corner of the shed, which was the workshop. And it literally was a mountain of crap, essentially, with a couple of toolboxes worth of stuff, which had that many tools in that you couldn't find what you wanted. So one of the first jobs I did is I screwed a piece of wood to the wall, I put a load of nails in it, and I hung all the spanners in order on the wall. And the Steve, the deputy, came down and he was completely miffed to what I've done because what they've been doing for years worked absolutely fine. And then after 2 or 3 days, he come back and he went, "That's one of the best ideas I've ever seen." He says, I want a spanner for this thing. I just go and grab it off the wall. It takes literally 2 seconds. Before, I'd spend 15 minutes digging it out.
But that's revolutionary stuff, isn't it? Sticking nails on a board.
But you know, over time we did sort of elevate it, and we got a proper thing for it that went on the wall and stuff. But it was just that starting point, and I think there probably is bits that you know you say you don't want to go in, and that's not how you operate. But there'll always be a little thing, won't there, where you think, you know.
I mean, for instance, that the little 9-hole course that I went to, the guy there, lovely fella, the guy running, but he'd never been a greenkeeper before. I think he was a member. The previous guy had left 20 years ago, and he said, "Oh, well, I'll do it then." So he became the one-man band greenkeeper at the golf course, and he'd never done any greenkeeping before. And he's done an amazingly good job. But he's never had any experience of doing that job anywhere else. So nobody's ever trained him, nobody's ever...
Yeah, maybe do this differently. Or
So the way that he mowed the tees, given that, this is a 9-hole course with 18 tees. So there's as many tees on this little 9-hole course as there are on a full 18-hole course. And he's mowing them with precise rectangular corners.
Yeah, make it a circle.
Yeah. So I did. I just, got 18 tees to mow and got about 2 hours to do it.
Why shunt it into corners? Yeah. But that's it, isn't it? It's these sort of things, though, that you get an opportunity to pass that on. And as I say, I'm not necessarily a case of, go and change things massively, but you could, that word of saying to that greenkeeper, actually, if you just, they'll be pretty much the same size, but you did them in an oval or a circle, as opposed to having these sharp corners that you're reversing in and out of constantly, or the extra wear on the corners. You could probably save yourself 10 minutes per set, per the round, or 20 minutes.
How tees the ball up in the corner anyway?
Very much so, yeah. Obviously, it has its presentational differences, and in certain the higher end courses, or even courses that want to present that way. But when there's one of you, you've got to look at those options that can make the job easier, and that is an easy win. So, excusing the pun again. But no, it's been fantastic, Duncan. I've got some quick fire questions for you now to go over, and then we'll move on to the next little bit now, if that's all right.
Yep.
So what would you say has been your favourite course you worked on so far?
Funnily enough, it's a toss-up between the sort of the most prestigious course and the most unknown course. The most unknown course, the one I've already mentioned, Tunsill near Rochdale, where I worked on my own for a week. Absolutely loved it. So that would be one of my 2 favourites. The other one is one I went to probably the following week, which was Wallasey, helping them while they were hosting the English Amateur.
Nice.
And that was a totally different experience. Equally as enjoyable, absolutely loved it, but could not be more different than being on your own on a moorland course in outside Rochdale.
2 completely different sides of the coin.
Diametric opposites, both equally enjoyable, and those 2 have been the highlights of my year.
Oh, brilliant. What would you say would be the one thing that you couldn't live without doing your job?
The obvious, the car to get there.
I've had all sorts of answers to this one. So I've had coffee cups and gloves and.
I think I invested in a rainproof jacket, a Gore-Tex jacket.
Yeah.
Berghaus one. I didn't go to a workwear place or a golf place. I went to a hiking place.
Yeah, perfect.
Got a Berghaus jacket, and it was 150 quid, and I liked it so much I bought the pants the next week.
Nice.
90 quid. If you'd have told me a year ago I was going to spend 250 quid on rainwear, I said you were mad. But that's probably the best money I've spent, and that's what I could now no longer do without.
Yeah, no, I probably agree with that one. One of the things that I do actually look after and spend the money on and put the extra coating on when it's needed and stuff is the rainwear, because you need it.
It's just you feel so much better at the end of the day when you take it off and you get in your car to drive out and you're relatively dry than if you're cold, wet, shivery, miserable.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was the same with taking my own gloves to work, that sort of thing, rather than using the ones where they'd get wet in their horrible waterproof gloves, lifesaver. But not the ones that like the workwear ones that stink, like an actual pair of hiking ones.
I actually use the mittens that golfers use in the winter that they put their hands in between when they're walking down the fairway. I use those. I have a light pair of gloves on and then put my hands in these mittens, and they are pretty well waterproof. You don't need your fingers to operate a mowing machine, and they keep your hands nice and toasty, and they're about 12 quid a pair.
Yeah, it's peanuts, isn't it? Yeah, and it makes such a difference. Yeah. What would you say, Duncan's the best thing then about being yourself, the Relief Greenkeeper?
It's doing a job I love, but it's doing it in a way that I love, in that I'm in control of my own diary, which is something I've always been accustomed to, having always worked for myself. I don't have a boss. I do have a boss. I have a different boss every day. But fundamentally, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm working where I want to work, when I want to work. If I don't want to work Wednesdays during the summer because I want to go and play golf in the Wednesday comp at my club, I don't have to work Wednesdays. If I want a week off, I just don't book anybody in.
I'm completely the same and all for that lifestyle. The fact that actually tomorrow morning I've got something to go and do at 2:00, but I could still work in the afternoon, so maybe I will. I'll book something in 3 till 5, and it's that you don't have to go and ring your boss or ask, can I just nip out, or it's a case of let's just not put something in the schedule, and that flexibility is just you can't really buy that.
What I'll probably do next year, more than I've done this year, is actually just work mornings some days a week. I'm habitually an early riser, and of course when you've worked as a greenkeeper for a while, even on a day off, you're up at
5 still. Yeah.
So even if I've got something on, if I'm playing golf at 11, I might as well go to work at 6 till 10.
Yeah, get some hours in.
Get some hours in, and then go and play golf at lunchtime.
And what else are you going to do for 4 hours in the morning anyway?
Well, you just sit around messing around on your phone for 4 hours, don't you?
Yeah, you might as well be out and enjoying yourself for a while. What would you say would be the snack of choice for the tea break?
Tea break? We don't have tea breaks up north. We call it dinner. we have dinner at 10:30.
Yeah, that's it.
My dinner of choice that I take with me, maybe once a week, is from Aldi. You can buy a tin of taco beans, which is basically beans in a chili sauce. I take a can of that, and I take a sachet of Mexican rice, stick them up both in the microwave, job done.
And that's dinner.
That's dinner.
That's dinner. Fantastic. And what would you say if you had the dream course to go and work at, whether it's for a week or a year? Where is the one where I'm going to be speaking to you next year and you say, Brad, I've been to work at X place. I've made it.
Well, I'm a big fan of links golf courses. I'm a member at Silleth in Cumbria. So it has to be a links course would be my idea. I guess go and work at the old course in St Andrews. I would just, that would be...
That's the ultimate goal.
I think. It's just occurred to me, I would love to go and mow the Himalaya putting course at St Andrews.
That's it then. We've got it. That's the goal.
It's tremendous fun playing it. Actually, I think it's equally fun to mow it.
I can only imagine. Yeah, I've not had the chance to do either, but I'm sure. No, it's been really good to chat, Duncan, and I think we've pretty much well covered a lot of things, unless there's anything in particular that stands out to yourself.
Not that I can think of. I think I've given you my life story. Hope to meet up with you.
Yeah,
You're going to Harrogate, aren't you?
most definitely. Yeah.
I booked my hotel. I'll be at Harrogate all week.
Oh, fantastic! So if anyone wants to see Duncan as well, as he said, he'll be up there.
In Harrogate, I'll be setting up a little store.
No, it's been brilliant, and it's been fantastic to have you on the podcast, Duncan. I've really enjoyed the chat. One thing I will say is we'll pop some links in the description down below for whether it's a golf course that's interested or someone locally within the area that might be listening that is potentially interested in helping or doing a similar thing.
Not just anywhere in the UK, if anybody's interested in doing the sort of work that I've outlined, please get in touch. If I'm going to build anything up, it's going to be very slow and organic. It's going to be based initially on where I've got a greenkeeper. So if I get a guy from, let's say, Sheffield, gets in touch, that he fancies me finding him some work around his area, I will find him work in Sheffield.
Yeah, so it's quite there's quite a lot of opportunity here to be relaxed and sort of creative in a way, isn't there? Because as you say, it can be from anywhere, and you'll go and sort that out. No, it's brilliant. So where can we find you then, Duncan? What sort of channels can we find you on? Is there a website or
you can find me on Facebook, the Relief Greenkeeper on Facebook. I'm in the process of building a website with a website designer, which will cover everything from what we can do for golf clubs and also what we can do for greenkeepers. That's going to be at thereliefgreenkeeper.co.uk. We've got the domain name, but we haven't got the website up and running yet. That's about it at the moment. I don't do Twitter. I don't do Instagram. I don't understand these things.
No, it's fantastic. We'll pop the links below in the description, and then when the website's up and running, you can get through. But I'll pop the link to the social media on Facebook as well. Duncan, it's been fantastic having you on the podcast. As I say, I've really enjoyed chatting, and I genuinely hope we can have a chat in a year's time and see where it's gone to as well. And perhaps you've got a couple of members of staff that we could also talk to. Who knows?
Oh,
who knows?
One of the members of staff, it will be.
Some form of colleague.
Colleague, yes. I've employed people in the past, and it's not something I ever want to do again. I'll be a facilitator.
That's really good. No, well, thank you again, Duncan.
Thanks, Beth.